In this video, I will be discussing Platonic thought, unity, the oneness, and draw parallels to Sufism and through great Sufi thinkers who I will be introducing throughout the video. Again, this will be coming through continuing discussions with the author of this channel, the opinions being from myself and knowledge from the World Wide Web. Platonic thought, as articulated by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, posits that there exists a transcendent, eternal realm of perfect and unchanging forms or ideas that underlie the physical world. These forms are said to be more real than the material world we perceive with our senses, and they serve as the archetypes or blueprints for the imperfect, changing things that we experience in the world. Sufism, a mystical tradition within Islam, shares some similarities with Platonic thought in its emphasis on the existence of a higher, transcendent reality that is not limited by time and space. However, Sufism also incorporates elements of Islamic monotheism and the belief in a personal, immanent divine presence, al-Haq, that can be directly experienced through spiritual practice. In Sufism, the path to divine union, wusuq, is seen as the ultimate goal of human existence. This path involves various practices such as meditation, prayer, and ethical self-discipline, all aimed at purifying the heart, qalb, and dissolving the illusory boundaries between the individual self and the divine reality. Through this process, the seeker, salak, hopes to achieve a state of unity with the divine, wahdat al-wujud, in which the limitations of individual consciousness are transcendent and the seeker comes to perceive oneself as inseparable from the divine source. In this context, the oneness, wahdat, refers to the ultimate unity of all existence with the divine reality, which is revealed through spiritual attainment. This is different from the pantheistic notion of oneness found in some forms of Platonism, which suggests that the divine and material world are one and the same. In Sufism, the divine and the material are seen as distinct, but inseparably connected. To summarize, Platonic thought and Sufism both acknowledge the existence of a transcendent, eternal reality that underlies the physical world. However, Sufism, being grounded in Islamic monotheism, emphasizes the importance of a personal relationship with the divine and the pursuit of direct spiritual experience as a path to divine union. Platonism does posit the existence of a transcendent, eternal reality, often referred to as the one or the good. This notion is similar to the concept of the divine in monotheistic traditions like Islam. However, in Platonism, this divine reality is often seen as separate from the physical world and can only be perceived through intellectual contemplation, rather than direct spiritual experience. Sufism, on the other hand, emphasizes the importance of personal relationship with the divine and the pursuit of direct spiritual experience as a means to attain union with the divine reality. In Sufism, the physical world is viewed as a means for spiritual growth and transformation, rather than as an obstacle to overcome. The ultimate goal is not to transcend the physical form entirely, but rather to align the self with the divine reality that underlies all existence. This alignment is achieved through spiritual practices that cultivate self-awareness, compassion, and wisdom, allowing one to perceive the divine presence with oneself and all beings. In Sufism, the physical world is seen as a sacred vessel for the expression of divine love and mercy, and as a means for humans to participate in the divine nature. The goal is not to escape the physical world, but rather to transform it through the power of spiritual awakening. While there are certainly similarities between Sufism and Platonism, it's important to note that their approaches to spirituality and the nature of reality are distinct. Sufism does acknowledge the importance of understanding the relationship between the self and the divine, as well as the potential for transformation and spiritual awakening. However, Sufism emphasizes embodied spirituality and direct personal experience of the divine, rather than intellectual contemplation or the pursuit of abstract ideals. Platonism, on the other hand, places greater emphasis on philosophical reasoning and the pursuit of abstract truths. While it does recognize the importance of ethical living and self-transformation, these goals are ultimately subservient to the pursuit of intellectual understanding. In Sufism, ethical living and spiritual practice are seen as inextricably intertwined, and personal experience and embodiment are central to the path towards union with the divine. It is true that Sufism was exposed to and influenced by a variety of philosophical and religious traditions, including Greek philosophy, Christianity, and Islamic theology. However, Sufism has evolved over time to develop its own unique approach to spirituality, drawing from these diverse sources while maintaining its distinctive emphasis on embodied spirituality and personal experience. The notion of Platonic forms, or universal archetypes, is often seen as reflecting the idea that there is a transcendent eternal reality underlying the physical world. This concept is not entirely foreign to Sufism, as Sufis often speak of the divine names and attributes, Ism al-Asma wa al-Husul, as universal principles or archetypes that underlie all creation. These divine names and attributes, such as mercy, justice, wisdom, and love, are seen as reflecting the essential nature of the divine reality and guiding the spiritual development of individuals and societies. As for the nous, which refers to the faculty of the soul that is closest to the divine in Platonic philosophy, Sufis might identify this with the heart, qalb, or spirit, ruh, in their own terminology. The heart is seen as the center of spiritual perception and intuition in Sufism, and it is through cultivating the heart that one can attain direct experience of the divine reality. The spirit, on the other hand, is understood as the immortal aspect of the self that survives physical death and continues on its journey towards union with the divine. Plato's allegory of the cave does indeed describe a spiritual awakening process, with the release from the cave symbolizing the individual's journey towards enlightenment and understanding of the true nature of reality. In Sufism, this process is often compared to the journey of the soul towards union with the divine. The seeker must first become aware of the spiritual blindness and ignorance, then begin to seek out the truth through spiritual practice and guidance, and finally attain direct experience of the divine reality. There is definitely a parallel between the philosophical ideas of Plato and the spiritual teachings of Sufism in this regard. Both traditions emphasize the importance of transcending the limitations of the material world and realizing the divine reality that understands all existence. The means by which this is achieved, however, differs significantly. In Platonism, the focus is on philosophical reasoning and intellectual understanding, while in Sufism, it is on embodied spiritual practice and direct experience of the divine through love and devotion. Ibn Arabi, like many Sufis, emphasizes the importance of both philosophical reasoning and intellectual understanding, as well as embodied spiritual practice. His philosophy is grounded in a deep understanding of the Quran and Islamic theology, and he engages extensively with the ideas of earlier philosophers and mystics. However, he places equal importance on personal spiritual experience and direct perception of the divine reality, which he believes cannot be fully comprehended through intellectual understanding alone. For Ibn Arabi, the goal is not simply to know about God, but to know God intimately and to embody that knowledge in one's own being. Averroes, or what we call Ibn Rushd, was an Andalusian philosopher who lived a few generations after Ibn Arabi, and he is known for his extensive commentaries on Aristotle and his defense of Aristotelian philosophy against his critics. While Averroes' ideas do not have a direct connection to Sufism, his philosophical approach does share some similarities with Platonic thought, particularly in its emphasis on reason and in intellectual understanding as a means of attaining truth. Averroes believed that the human mind has a capacity to apprehend universal truths through reason, and he argued that our limited human perception can sometimes obscure our understanding of reality. While Averroes was influenced by earlier Islamic philosophers, including Ibn Sina, or in Latin, Avicenna, his philosophical approach differs significantly from that of Ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi emphasizes the importance of spiritual experience and direct perception of the divine, whereas Averroes places greater emphasis on reason and intellectual understanding. It is true that Averroes was influenced by earlier Sufi thinkers, but his interpretation of Sufism was shaped by his engagement with Aristotelian and Neoplatonic philosophical traditions as well. It's important to remember that while there are some similarities and connections between these philosophical traditions, they also diverge in significant ways. For instance, while all of these thinkers place value on spiritual growth and the pursuit of truth, their approaches differ in terms of emphasis on reason, experience, and the role of the individual in relation to the divine or universal reality. Platonic thought, as represented by figures like Plato and Aristotle, focuses on the study of universal forms and the pursuit of wisdom through intellectual contemplation. This tradition has influenced Western philosophy and spirituality, including Christian and Jewish mysticism. Sufism, on the other hand, emerged within the Islamic tradition and emphasizes direct experience of the divine through spiritual practices such as meditation, prayer, and self-reflection. Sufis often use metaphor and allegory to describe their experiences, and they believe that the goal of spiritual practice is to transcend the limitations of individual consciousness and attain union with the divine. Ibn Arabi is an important figure in Sufism who advocates for the unity of all existence, arguing that each of us contains a divine spark and has potential to realize our divine nature through spiritual practice. His philosophy does not reject reason, but it places greater emphasis on direct experience and the importance of surrendering one's will to the divine. Averroes, while influenced by Ibn Arabi and other Sufi thinkers, is more closely associated with Aristotelian and Neoplatonic thought. He defends rationalist approaches to philosophy and theology, arguing that our limited human perceptions can obscure our understanding of reality. Some modern interpreters have suggested that his ideas might offer a framework for understanding the potential benefits in spiritual practice. But this interpretation is not universally accepted among scholars. Ibn Sina, Avicenna, another influential Muslim philosopher, is known for his synthesis of Aristotelian and Neoplatonic thought with Islamic theology. He emphasizes the importance of balancing reason and experience in the pursuit of knowledge and spiritual growth. The philosophers mentioned above, as well as spiritual traditions, do mention the concept of a single divine reality or principle, often referred to as the One or the Good. They also discuss the interplay between the material and immaterial aspects of existence. In Platonic thought, the One is understood as the ultimate source of all existence, transcendent and unchanging. This idea is related to the concept of the good, which is the source of all moral and ontological values. In Neoplatonism, this principle is often personified as the One or the Good, with the material world emanating from it. Sufism and Ibn Arabi's philosophy also emphasize the unity of existence and the importance of recognizing the divine presence within ourselves and the world around us. In Sufism, this unity is often expressed through the concept of al-Wahid al-Ahad, which refers to the oneness of the divine reality. Ibn Sina, or in Latin Avicenna, and Averroes, while influenced by Platonic and Neoplatonic thought, also discuss the interplay between the material and immaterial aspects of existence. They see the material world as an emanation from a transcendent intelligent source, and argue that our understanding of reality is shaped by our interaction with both the physical and spiritual realms. Overall, these philosophers and spiritual traditions share the idea of a divine principle or source that transcends individual consciousness, yet is also immanent in the world and within each of us. They differ, however, in their approaches to understanding and experiencing this reality, as well as in their emphasis on reason, experience, and the role of the individual in relation to the divine. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe to this channel.